The first light of morning touches the snowbound shoulders of the Himalayas like a whisper of gold. At this altitude, where clouds drift like silent pilgrims, even the wind carries a sacred tone, a soundless vibration older than time. The mountains rise like ancient guardians, their summits brush with crimson as the sun climbs over the eastern rim of the world. Mist rolls through cedar forests, moving with a patience only eternity understands. The sky, once indigo and cold, begins to melt into soft hues of rose and amber. For a moment, it feels as if the heavens themselves are waking, breathing, and stretching after a night of cosmic dreams. Below the peaks, life stirs in a rhythm as old as the earth itself. A snow partridge calls, its voice sharp against the still air, echoing across cliffs like a prayer of survival. Blue sheep, the barrel, begin to move, their coats a perfect mimicry of rock and frost. They climb narrow ledges where no human foot can follow, their breath visible in the cold. Beneath a rock ledge, hidden in the shroud of morning mist, a shadow watches. The elusive snow leopard. Her eyes are twin coins of molten gold, and her muscles coil with grace. Every motion she makes is soundless, a ghost painted in silver and smoke. She is hunger and patience woven together, the spirit of the mountain made flesh. Far below, valleys begin to glow under the newborn light. Here, conifers give way to terrace fields, and small villages cling to the slopes like moss to stone. The people rise early, kindling fires that send ribbons of smoke spiraling into morning air. The bells of yaks and mules jingle softly, mixing with the laughter of children and the rhythmic chanting from distant monasteries. For a few fleeting minutes, all sounds blend into one harmonious tone, the symphony of awakening. In these remote places, life and landscape are not separate. They breathe each other's breath. As the sun climbs higher, it spills into deep valleys where rivers are born. The Ganga begins her journey here, from an icy womb high in the glaciers of Gangotri. Her waters, clear as liquid glass, twist and tumble through rocks polished by centuries. Each droplet carries within it the memory of mountains, snow, and sky. The river sings as it moves, a song of purity and purpose. It will travel across plains, feed forests, sustain millions, and finally merge into the sea, a journey that mirrors the cycle of life itself. Along her banks, wildflowers open, their colors bright against the stone, yellow primroses, violet gentians, crimson rhododendrons. Bees begin their quiet work. Butterflies shimmer like pieces of fallen sunlight. High above, the wind stirs banners of prayer that flap from cliffs and temples. Each color represents an element: sky, air, fire, water, and earth. And as they move, the people believe their prayers are carried across the world. From this altitude, the earth appears limitless, rolling in shades of green, brown, and white, alive and breathing. And somewhere, above the canopy of clouds, an eagle glides in perfect silence. Its shadow drifts across the snow, vast and fleeting, like time itself passing to the present moment. As the light strengthens, it reveals an intricate web of motion and stillness. Marmots emerge from burrows, shaking off frost from their fur. A red fox trots along a narrow trail, its coat blazing against the pale stones. Ibex stands silhouetted against the morning sun, horns curving like the crescent moon. Even the smallest creatures, beetles, moths, mountain mice, join this dawn ritual, each playing its role in the unseen orchestra of existence. There is no hierarchy here, no division of worth. Every life, from the grandest beast to the tiniest insect, carries the same sacred spark that ignites the sun each morning. The forest line thickens further down the slope, transforming from conifer to broadleaf. Oaks, chestnuts, and maples form a sea of green that sways gently as the wind descends. Monkeys leap between branches, their calls echoing in joy. Somewhere, a langur pauses to watch the sunrise, its face solemn and thoughtful, as though understanding something divine in the light. A family of red pandas emerges in the shadow of an ancient tree, their fur rich with color, their movements cautious but curious. They nibble at bamboo shoots, unaware that they are among the rarest jewels of these woods. Fragile links in the great chain of survival. Further still, the wilderness opens into meadow, a mosaic of life where cranes wade through silver streams and musk deer graze on tender shoots. Above them, clouds roll like slow oceans, their undersides glowing with fire as the morning matures. The scent of wet earth and pine fills the air, mingling with the cool sweetness of glacial wind. It is a perfume that belongs only to this hour, the breath of a planet in perfect balance. In the distance, a monastery bell tolls again, its sound deep and resonant. The note lingers in the air, long after the bell itself has fallen silent, as though the mountain remembers every vibration, every echo, every life that has passed through its heart. By mid-morning, the world is fully awake. The snow begins to glitter, rivers run brighter, and the creatures of the heights retreat into shade. The sun, now a radiant white orb, reigns over the peaks with steady authority. Far away, in the foothills, farmers begin to till their fields, following rhythms passed down for generations. Their movements are slow, deliberate, and in tune with the same pulse that guides the leopard, the river, and the wind. Here, humanity does not stand above nature. It walks beside it. Every step is measured, every harvest offered back to the soil with reverence. A sense of timelessness drapes the entire landscape. The mountains have witnessed empires rise and fall, languages born and forgotten, rivers change course, and stars shift their constellations. Yet their essence remains. They are the silent witnesses of all creation, the first storytellers of the earth. The people who live here do not simply survive. They participate in a living tradition, one where worship means listening to the rustle of leaves, the cry of birds, the hum of the wind, and recognizing the divine in every vibration of life. As the morning matures, a soft haze begins to veil the distance, turning the valleys into watercolor dreams. The scent of juniper smoke drifts from small hearths. Children chase butterflies through fields of wild mustard. Shepherds call to their flocks with songs that have no written words, only tones shaped by love and familiarity. The hills respond with echoes, soft and reassuring. Life continues its endless conversation between silence and sound. By the time the sun reaches its zenith, the golden light that began as a whisper now blazes in full voice. It touches every surface, stone, snow, fur, and feather, and transforms them into living fire. The Himalayas stand proud, vast, and eternal. Yet within their shadows, a single flower opens, delicate and unseen. That contrast between grandeur and fragility is the secret of India's wilderness. It is a reminder that power without tenderness is hollow, and that even the smallest pulse of life holds meaning in the endless story of creation. Here, at the roof of the world, dawn is not just a beginning. It is a revelation, the first movement of a vast symphony that will carry through jungles, deserts, and rivers. As the camera of the soul pans slowly across the peaks, the narration fades into silence, leaving only the music of wind, water, and wing. The day has begun, and with it, the timeless dance of India's living earth. From the western edge of the ocean, where the Arabian Sea breathes against India's coast, the wind begins to shift. At first, it is only a murmur, a sigh that ripples across the palms of Kerala. Fishermen sense it before clouds appear. They read the taste of salt and storm on their tongues and pull their boats higher onto the sand. The air thickens, sweet and electric, full of distant thunder. Birds will low over the water, their cries sharper, more urgent, as if the sky itself were drawing breath. The season of waiting is over. The monsoon has begun its ancient pilgrimage. Overhead, the heavens bruise into shades of violet and slate. Clouds tower like mountain ranges in motion, their bellies swollen with oceans. When the first drops fall, they are wide and heavy, exploding on the dust-coated earth with a hiss that smells of renewal. The parched ground drinks greedily. The scent of petrichor rises, wet soil, moss, and memory. Within minutes, the rain becomes a curtain, dense and musical, turning fields into mirrors and rivers into serpents of silver. Coconut fronds whip and shimmer. Lightning flashes across the horizon, and the rhythm of water replaces the heartbeat of the land. In the forests of the Western Ghats, this arrival is more than weather. It is resurrection. Trees that stood silent through months of heat now tremble with joy. Leaves unfurl with a sound like whispered applause. Streams that were only stones and dust swell into rushing torrents, carving new paths through fern-covered slopes. Frogs, hidden for weeks, erupt in chorus, thousands of voices forming one rolling wave of sound that rises and falls with the rain. Each drop that strikes a leaf becomes a note in an endless song of creation. Elephants move through this living music. Their vast bodies glisten under the downpour, skin darkened and shining like polished stone. A matriarch leads her herd along a riverbank, her tusks streaked with mud. Calves trumpet and splash beside her, discovering the joy of water as if for the first time. They toss trunkfuls of rain toward the sky, dancing in the floodlight of lightning. Behind them, egrets perch upon their backs, hitching a ride to the storm, small white ghosts drifting above gray giants. The jungle breathes as one being, animal, rain, and earth inseparable. Deep in the undergrowth, a tiger moves. His stripes blur beneath the rain, merging with shadow and foliage. Each step is measured, his muscles rippling in rhythm with thunder. The scent of wet earth clings to his coat. Droplets beat upon his whiskers. The forest, so alive with sound, parts for him in reverence. Ahead, a somber deer freezes, its ears catching the faintest rustle. For a heartbeat the world holds still, predator and prey linked in the same moment of awareness. And then the tiger slips away, not in hunger but in grace. The rain conceals all traces, washing away the footprints of both. Across the plains of Maharashtra, farmers lift their faces to clouds. Their cracked fields are reborn into rivers of green within days. Rice shoots emerge, trembling under the steady drizzle, each blade catching a glint of sky. Women in bright saris move through the fields, their laughter rising above the storm. The monsoon is hard work, but it is also celebration, the promise of food, of song, of survival renewed. In villages, drums begin to echo after sunset. Children dance barefoot in the mud. The rain becomes a blessing too abundant to contain, spilling from roofs, from hearts, from heaven itself. Far to the north, the monsoon climbs the foothills, dragging its clouds like vast veils. It meets the cold breath of the Himalayas, and together they weave mystic as dreams. Rivers that began as trickles in the high glaciers now roar through gorges, carrying entire forests of scent, pine, cedar, and wildflower down to the plains. At every bend, waterfalls bloom from cliffs, white as milk, loud as applause. Pilgrims walking the mountain paths stop to lift their faces into spray, feeling the union of sky and earth upon their skin. In this moment, they say, the gods walk unseen among mortals. Life multiplies in secret corners. Snails emerge from hiding, their shells glistening. Ferns curl open on rock walls. Fireflies find each other in the darkness between showers, their tiny lamps blinking like coded prayers. The soil itself seems alive, breathing beneath the constant rhythm of rain. For the cobra, this is a season of plenty. Frogs and rodents fill the fields, and she glides silently through flooded grass, her body writing elegant lines upon the water's surface. A peacock, drenched yet magnificent, spreads his feathers in a defiant dance. Droplets cling to the emerald eyes on his tail, turning them into jeweled mirrors of the storm. When night falls, the world glows. Villages shine with lanterns that shimmer through sheets of rain, reflections doubling in puddles along dirt roads. The forests hum with unseen life, cicadas, frogs, crickets, each adding its thread to the fabric of sound. In the distance, thunder rolls like a slow drum, and sometimes lightning reveals the silhouettes of trees bowed under the weight of heaven. The air is thick, fragrant with jasmine and smoke. Somewhere a flute plays, a single human note rising above the roar, fragile yet unwavering. It is the sound of gratitude. Weeks pass and the rains deepen. Rivers swell beyond their banks, flooding fields, renewing wetlands that had lain dormant. In these temporary lakes, lotus flowers open by the thousands, their pink petals glowing against the gray sky. Ducks glide between them, dragonflies dart like sparks, and the surface quivers with life unseen. The monsoon gives and takes. It feeds the land but demands respect. Villagers rebuild what washes away, knowing this is the way of things. Destruction and renewal as partners, not enemies. In the densest jungles of Assam, the rain never truly ends. It becomes part of the air itself. Trees grow taller here, their roots gripping the soil like the fingers of gods. Orchids hang in clusters of white and purple, dripping perfume. Hornbills beat through the mist with wings heavy as thunder. Below them, elephants carve new paths, their feet sinking into the softened earth. Streams overflow into lagoons where rhinoceroses bathe, eyes half closed, trusting the curtain of rain to guard their peace. Above all this, a single clouded leopard stretches along a branch. Its fur slick with moisture, its gaze calm and eternal. And still the rain falls. When the monsoon finally begins to retreat, it does not leave suddenly, but like a song reaching its final note. The clouds thin, the thunder grows distant. Sunlight filters through in trembling shafts, revealing a world reborn. Rivers fat and glimmering, forests thick and lustrous, plains painted in every shade of green. The animals rest, the soil exhales steam, and a rainbow rises like a bridge between earth and heaven. The people step outside their homes, barefoot, eyes lifted. They know the cycle will return, as it has since the first dawn. The monsoon's gift is not merely water. It is memory. It reminds all beings of the promise that life will always find a way to begin again. The rains are past, and the world that rises behind them is thick with breath and color. In the heart of India, where the ancient teak and sal trees knit a green cathedral over the soil of Madhya Pradesh, morning begins not with light, but with sound. First comes the long whistle of a drongo, sharp and metallic. Then the whoop of langurs, the rustle of leaves brushed by unseen wings. Mist clings to the undergrowth, turning every spider's web into a net of pearls. The forest seems infinite, layer upon layer of texture, scent, and motion. Here, life is not a background for the tiger's story. It is the tiger's pulse itself. Deep within this labyrinth of green, the queen moves. Her coat is a storm of gold and shadow, her eyes lit with a stillness that only hunters know. The tigress walks as though she carries the weight of generations in her stride. Every pawfall lands silent on the soft mulch, every breath drawn slow through the rain-cooled air. She stops beside a pool where the canopy opens just enough for sunlight to spill through, turning the water to glass. A butterfly drifts past her nose. She watches it without hunger, then moves on. Strength has no need to announce itself here. It simply exists, balanced between grace and danger. The forest around her is a tapestry of intention. Termite mounds rise like forgotten shrines, their surfaces crawling with life. Vines dangle in curtains from the tallest trees, leaves broad enough to catch the echoes of rain. A pair of hornbills glide overhead, their heavy wings thudding like drum beats against the silence. On the forest floor, ants march across fallen bark in endless rivers of red and black, each carrying a fragment of the world on its back. Somewhere far away, a peacock cries, 3 sharp notes that cut through the haze like glass against silk. It is not alarm or greeting. It is simply the forest speaking to itself. The tigress pauses beside the base of a banyan tree, whose roots twist like petrified snakes. The smell of somber lingers in the air, musky, nervous, recent. Her ears twitch, her pupils narrow. For a full minute she is still as a carved idol, muscles coil beneath the skin. The forest seems to hold its breath with her. Cicadas stop, birds fall silent, even the breeze halts in the leaves. Then, with a sigh as soft as the falling of ash, she relaxes. The deer has moved on. She lowers herself onto the damp earth, her flank rising and falling in slow rhythm, her tail flicking lazily through shafts of light. Life gathers around her resting form, as if drawn to the calm she radiates. A pair of jungle babblers hop near her paw, scolding each other in whispers. A chameleon shifts its colors along a branch, turning from leaf green to bark brown in a heartbeat. The tigress blinks, but does not move. To watch her here is to understand the perfection of the jungle's design, how predator and prey are threads of the same weaving, how stillness and motion are only 2 sides of breathing. As the sun climbs, the mist dissolves and the heat rises. Smells thicken. Wild mango, wet soil, the faint iron of old kills. Streams that roared during the monsoon now murmur quietly, curling around roots like silver snakes. Deer emerge in the shadows in cautious groups, their coats bright in the dappled light. Above them, langurs feed on tender shoots, dropping half-chewed leaves that flutter down like green snow. Every sound has purpose, every movement consequence. This is the law of the jungle, not written, not spoken, but lived. By late afternoon, the forest glows like a great green furnace. Shafts of sunlight pierce the canopy, setting clouds of dust and insects aflame. Every leaf sweats. Every breath is thick. The tigress rises from her resting place and moves again, her muscles sliding under her coat like liquid bronze. She follows a dry riverbed where the earth still remembers the monsoon's touch. The smell of prey rides on the slow wind. Deer, wild boar, the faint musk of life that feeds all others. She moves without hurry. For her there is no hunger or cruelty, only the certainty that balance demands she live as she was shaped to live. A herd of spotted cheetle grazes in a clearing rimmed by sal trees. Their tails twitch in rhythm, ears flicking toward every whisper. The tigress stops at the edge of shadow, crouches low and waits. A myna bird bursts from a nearby bush. The deer jerk their heads up, muscles tense. Silence stretches like a bowstring. For long minutes, nothing moves but the motes of dust in the air. Then, as the herd relaxes, she steps forward. 1, 2, 3, and in a blur of orange and black, she becomes pure motion. The forest explodes with alarm calls. Langurs scream from treetops. A peacock erupts into flight, and the ground itself seems to shake. When the noise fades, the forest closes again over the echo. A few tufts of fur, a streak of disturbed grass, the scent of blood that will feed beetles, ants, vultures. Nothing is wasted here. The tigress feeds, then drags what remains into shade for her unseen cubs. Above her, the circling kites draw slow spirals in the blue. Death in this place is not an ending but a continuation, the forest consuming itself to remain eternal. As evening lowers, the air cools and the forest changes voice. Day birds fall silent. Night creatures begin to stir. Cicadas start the chorus, thousands of them beating their bodies into a metallic hum. Frogs join from the puddles left by rain, and soon the entire jungle vibrates like a living drum. Fireflies rise in the grass. First a few, then hundreds, until the undergrowth shimmers as if the stars have come down to rest. The tigress lifts her head, listening. Somewhere in the distance another tiger roars, deep and resonant. She answers with a low chuff, a note of recognition rather than challenge. Their calls roll through the valleys like thunder remembering itself. A ranger walks a narrow trail miles away, his lantern swinging. He knows these voices, knows which roar belongs to which cat, which track is fresh, which scratch on a tree marks a boundary. His footsteps are careful, respectful. The scent of smoke from his camp mixes with the wild perfume of the forest, sandalwood, dung, wet leaves. For him the jungle is not an enemy to be conquered, but a world to be guarded. He pauses when the roar echoes again, smiles slightly, and continues. Night deepens. The moon climbs through drifting clouds, painting the forest in silver. Shadows stretch long and cool. The tigress settles beside her cubs in a hollow between roots, her body a wall of warmth. They knead her belly, purr and fall asleep. Around them, the forest breathes in synchrony. Owls calling from the dark, the rustle of deer moving cautiously, the sigh of wind through bamboo. The air smells of life, decay, and renewal all at once. Far above in the branches, a leopard lies awake, eyes gleaming like twin coins. He watches the moonlight ripple over leaves and thinks in the silent way of predators, aware of everything, needing nothing. Beneath him, ants march. On a nearby log, a frog begins its slow, deliberate song. Each sound fits perfectly into the great rhythm. As dawn's first cool breeze touches the trees, the forest quiets once more. Mist returns, curling around trunks and vines. The heartbeat that thrummed all night slows, steady and eternal. The tigress stretches, licks her cubs awake, and disappears in the green before the light fully breaks. And for a while, only the wind remains soft, patient, carrying the memory of her passing through leaves, across rivers, and into the endless story of the jungle's own heart. The rain has long since quieted in the south, but the memory of water still clings to the land. Across the rolling hills of Kerala and Tamil Nadu, the western Ghats shimmer with 1,000 shades of green, moss on stone, fern on trunk, vines on vine, every surface breathing. It is here, in this corridor of life older than the Himalayas themselves, that the giants begin their journey. From the lowland marshes to the mist-swaddled plateaus, herds of Asian elephants move as one vast, ancient pulse. They are not driven by haste or fear. They are moved by instinct older than memory. The matriarch leads, her great ears fanning the air, her feet falling silently despite their weight. Behind her are mothers, calves, and young bulls follow in single file, a procession of living mountains, each step pressing a century's patience into the earth. The forest bends around them. Branches sway to their passage, and the air trembles with the low rumble of their communication. Sounds too deep for human ears, vibrations that roll through soil and stone. The calves, still awkward, trumpet with delight as they splash through streams swollen by the last monsoon showers. Their mothers reach out with trunks, steadying them, pulling them close when the terrain grows steep. The path they follow is older than roads, older than towns, carved first by ancestors whose bones now rest under the same trees. Every year they trace the same invisible map between feeding grounds and salt licks, through forests where human voices are distant, replaced by the steady drone of cicadas and the slow drip of moisture from leaves. As they climb toward the high plateau, the scent of rain gives way to the dry sweetness of grass. The matriarch pauses often, testing the wind. She remembers places not with sight but with smell, the patch of bamboo that will be tender after rain, the glade where mangoes fall ripe in late summer, the shallow pool where her sister once gave birth. Memory lives in her like a constellation of scents and echoes. The herd trusts her without question, for her wisdom is survival. The rhythm of their march mirrors the breathing of the hills themselves, slow, powerful, certain. At midday they rest in the shadow of teak trees, massive trunks rising like pillars of a forgotten temple. The youngest calves roll in the mud, coating themselves with a layer of cool protection against biting insects. The older females stand around them, forming a circle of guardianship. One young bull tests his strength against a sapling, pushing it until the trunk bends and snaps. His mother rumbles a warning that stills him at once. Discipline here is gentle but firm, learned through vibration, not punishment. The forest watches this gathering with calm acceptance. Sunlight filters down in dusty spears, and butterflies wander like fragments of lost dreams between the columns of air. Far away, a human watcher sits in a clearing, camera balanced on tripod, breath held. Through his lens, the elephants seem both immense and fragile, embodiments of time itself. He notes their scars, the bullet wound that healed decades ago, the notched ear of the matriarch, and wonders how many such marks will be left by the next generation of men. He knows the statistics, the stories of poaching and shrinking corridors, but in this moment all numbers dissolve into reverence. The herd moves past him soundlessly, so close that he can smell the damp earth on their hides, the musky sweetness of life carried on each exhalation. When the last calf vanishes into the mist, he lowers the camera and sits in silence, understanding that no frame can truly contain their majesty. The journey continues through valleys echoing with the calls of hornbills and macaques. Streams braid across their path like threads of glass. Each evening the herd gathers at waterholes, the surface trembling with reflections of their great silhouettes. They drink deeply, then spray themselves in clouds of silver droplets that shimmer in the dying light. The calves chase one another to the puddles, slipping, squealing, rising again in laughter that seems almost human. Nearby, a gaur herd watches cautiously, their massive horns catching the last orange rays of sunset. Even the predators, the stealthy leopard, the distant tiger, do not approach while the giants rule the clearing. The elephant's presence radiates a calm authority that no hunter dares challenge. Night on the plateau is a world of velvet darkness. The stars burn with impossible brightness, mirrored faintly in the eyes of the herd as they rest. The matriarch stands over her sleeping kin, her trunk touching each one in turn, confirming life through contact. Occasionally she lifts her head and emits a soft vibration, a pulse of sound that travels through the ground like a lullaby. Miles away, another herd feels a tremor and answers, the deep frequencies weaving through the night like invisible rivers of memory. Between them lies no distance, only connection, the same way trees communicate through roots or clouds exchange moisture across horizons. When dawn breaks, the forest is silver with mist. Dew pearls every blade of grass, and birds burst into chorus, the laughing thrush, the drongo, the scarlet minivet flashing through green. The herd stirs, stretching, testing the air. The matriarch leads again, guiding them toward the valley where the great river waits. As they descend, the sun spills gold across the canopy, and each elephant becomes a moving sculpture of light and shadow. Beneath their feet, the soil carries the imprint of passage that will feed new grass after the rains return. In their wake follows the promise of renewal. At the riverbank, they pause. Water flows broad and calm, reflecting sky and leaf alike. One by one they step in, their immense bodies displacing clouds of silt. Calves squeal with delight, mothers rumble encouragement, and soon the herd is halfway across, framed by dawn. Each trunk raised like a banner, they emerge on the opposite shore dripping and triumphant. The matriarch lifts her head, tasting the scent of distant ranges, the next stage of the eternal journey. Behind them, the forest exhales. The footprints fill slowly with clear water, and the chorus of birds swells again. The trail the elephants leave is more than a path. It is a living thread stitching together valleys, rivers, and generations. Long after they vanish into the haze, the land itself seems to hum with their passing, as if the earth remembers each step of the giants who keep its rhythm. Dawn comes quietly to the Thar Desert, creeping in not with the sound of birdsong, but with the whisper of sand shifting under the first breath of wind. The horizon glows in pale gold, the color of new wheat and forgotten stories. This is a world of extremes, a place where heat burns the horizon to glass by noon, and the cold bites through bone by midnight. Yet, in this land that seems made for silence, life endures with astonishing grace. From the dunes of Rajasthan to the rocky scrublands of Gujarat, every grain of sand holds a heartbeat. Every shadow hides a story of survival. As the sun rises higher, the dunes awaken. Long-legged beetles scurry across the ridges, their tracks drawing fleeting hieroglyphs before the wind erases them. A desert fox emerges from its burrow, for pale as moonlight, tail tipped with black. It pauses, listening. Its ears, broad, delicate, almost translucent, catch the faintest rustle beneath the sand. With a quick pounce, it digs and moments later reappears with a struggling lizard in its jaws. The meal is brief, efficient, thankful. Here, in the Thar, life wastes nothing. Far across the shimmering expanse, a herd of camels moves in solemn procession. They are the ships of this endless sea, their gaits slow and deliberate, their shadows long and wavering. Each step is measured, knowing the rhythm of thirst and endurance. Their handlers walk beside them, turbans blazing red and orange against the pale earth. Man and beast share an ancient pact, one older than written history, to survive together through the furnace and the storm. The camel's eyes, half-lidded and patient, mirror the stillness of dunes that stood unmoved for millennia. By midday, the desert turns afire. Waves of heat dance on the horizon, and the air itself seems to shimmer like liquid glass. Even the wind grows weary. Under the sparse shade of an acacia tree, a group of chinkara, graceful Indian gazelles, rests, their flanks rising gently with breath. They are creatures sculpted by scarcity, able to go days without water, drawing moisture from the plants they eat. A jackal watches them from a ridge, tail flicking, eyes bright with cunning. It does not attack, not yet. In the desert, timing is everything. Hunger is patient. High above, a pair of Egyptian vultures circles, their wings catching the sun like sheets of ivory. Their flight seems effortless, yet every tilt of feather is calculation, every glide a mapping of invisible thermals. To them, the desert is not barren. It is a feast of possibilities. A few meters away, a peacock fans its feathers in defiance of the heat, each plume a spectrum of emerald and sapphire that seems impossibly vibrant against the faded world around it. He dances not for shade or sustenance, but for beauty, for love, for the eternal rhythm of courtship that even the harshest land cannot extinguish. As the sun dips westward, the desert begins to breathe again. The air cools, softens. The colors change from white and gold to deep amber and rose. Shadows lengthen, painting the dunes in layered gradients of light. From distant villages, the faint echo of bells and song drifts across the plains. Shepherds guide their flocks home, their silhouettes tiny against the immensity of land and sky. A caravan of traders winds its way along the old salt routes, the same paths once traveled by kings and pilgrims, their footprints buried under centuries of shifting sands. When darkness falls, the transformation is absolute. The desert that burned like fire now glows like an ocean of stars. The Milky Way arches above with clarity unknown to cities, a river of light so bright it casts faint shadows. Night creatures emerge. Jerboas leap across the sand like sparks. Owls glide in silence. And the fox returns to hunt again, its eyes twin mirrors of the constellations. The temperature plummets, but the desert does not sleep. It merely changes mask. In a small hollow between dunes, a mother fox curls around her kits, their fur blending with the sand. She listens to the wind hum across the ridges, a sound older than language. Somewhere far away, a camel bell rings, a solitary chime carried by air so thin it seems sacred. This harmony of distance, of stillness and survival, defines Thar. Life here does not fight the desert. It becomes part of its rhythm. At the edge of the Rann of Kutch, the salt flats stretch to the horizon, glowing ghost-white under the moon. Flamingos gather there by the thousands, their slender forms painting moving strokes of pink across the pale expanse. They dance, feed, and rise in slow unison, their wings igniting the air in a storm of color. Each movement reflects the paradox of this land, harsh yet generous, silent yet full of music. And when dawn returns once more, it finds the desert unchanged yet ever reborn. The wind has erased yesterday's footprints, sculpted new dunes, and whispered the same ancient promise, that even in the harshest corners of earth, life will find a way to bloom, to breathe, to endure. The Thar stands as a testament to resilience, a realm where scarcity becomes art, where color and song defy the silence, and where every sunrise is both a beginning and a reminder that beauty, when born of endurance, is the purest form of life's grace. At the roof of the world, where air thins to breathless purity and the horizon folds into eternity, lie the Himalayas, India's great guardians of stone and snow. Here, time slows until it almost stops. Dawn breaks not in color but in radiance, a slow unveiling of light that spills over the peaks like molten gold. The first rays strike the summits, turning them briefly into fire before the glow trickles down to the shadowed valleys below. Wind sweeps across glaciers, carrying whispers older than mankind. This is a land shaped by silence, and yet within that silence, life endures with quiet ferocity. The mountain slopes are alive in ways unseen at first glance. Beneath snowfields and cliffs, the rocks cradle mosses and lichens, the first architect of life in a frozen world. Blue sheep graze along impossible ridges, their hooves gripping stone ledges as narrow as a man's palm. They move in delicate synchrony, silent against the wind, blending so perfectly with the terrain that they seem to be born from a mountain itself. Above them, a golden eagle circles, its wings spanning the breadth of human dreams. With one tilt, it rides a thermal that lifts it toward the blinding sky, a creature perfectly carved by altitude and air. But hidden among the shadows, another presence stirs, a ghost, both feared and worshipped, the snow leopard. It moves unseen, its pale for pattern with rosettes that echo the broken light of stone and snow. Each step is a whisper, each breath invisible in the thin air. The leopard's eyes are pale amber, reflecting the endless sky. For hours it follows the trail of the blue sheep, patient as ice. It never hurries. In the mountains, only patience survives. When the moment comes, it springs, a silent explosion of grace and power. The chase lasts seconds. Then stillness returns. A circle completes itself. Life feeding life, the ancient balance untouched. The wind carries the scent of pine and cold water down to the valleys. There, in meadows briefly touched by summer, yaks graze among wild flowers that bloom like prayers. Blue poppies, edelweiss, tiny bursts of color define the harshness around them. The yaks, with their thick wool and slow, gentle eyes, are the lifeline of the highlands. To them, every rock, every patch of grass, is sacred. Their heavy breaths rise like steam in the morning light. Around them, nomadic herders move their tents, guiding herds from one valley to another, chasing the rhythm of pasture and thaw. Inside those tents, butter tea simmers over dung fires. The smell of smoke and salt mixes with cold air. Children laugh as they chase lambs, their cheeks red from wind and altitude. For these people, The Changpa, the Guddi, the Buddhya, the mountain is not a backdrop but a living ancestor. They speak to it in murmured chants, leave offerings of grain on stone shrines, and believe that the spirits of snow and thunder guard every ridge. Even the yaks are adorned with prayer flags and bells, their slow movement through the mist echoing the eternal migration of stars across the night sky. Higher still, the world grows silent again. Clouds roll like oceans between peaks, and glaciers glow blue from within, like veins of frozen light. A red panda moves through the fir forest, its russet fur vivid against the white drifts. It climbs with gentle grace, searching for bamboo shoots hidden beneath snow. Each step seems deliberate, almost reverent, as if it knows that in this world of thin air and vast space, every action matters. Nearby, a lammergeier, bearded vulture, glides on invisible currents, dropping bones from the sky to shatter them on stone and feast on the marrow. Death here is neither cruel nor wasteful. It is part of the mountain's breath. At dusk, the Himalayas turn to dream. Peaks once white and fierce now soften into shades of lavender and rose. Prayer flags flutter on ridgelines, carrying mantras into the wind. The sound of yak bells drifts up from a valley, faint as memory. As darkness deepens, the stars appear, clear, piercing, countless. In the cold silence of night, the mountain seems alive with their shimmer. The Milky Way arches above like a frozen river of souls. Somewhere among the boulders, the snow leopard moves again, a phantom woven from starlight and frost. A storm gathers without warning. The wind screams down the passes, driving snow in blinding swirls. In minutes, the world disappears. The herders huddle inside their tents, fires flickering, prayers whispered. Outside, the storm shapes new ridges, erases tracks, rewrites the face of the earth. But even in this fury, life holds fast. The yak herds press close together, sharing warmth. The leopard finds shelter in a cave. The eagle rides a chaos like a song. When the storm passes, silence returns, deeper and more sacred than before. Morning reveals transformation. The valleys are blanketed in new snow, unbroken and pure. Sunlight fractures into 1,000 diamonds across the ice. The herders emerge, squinting into brilliance, and the yaks begin to move once more. The snow leopard leaves its hidden den, stepping lightly over its own vanishing prints. Life, reborn again, resumes its timeless pilgrimage. To the untrained eye, these mountains might seem empty, barren, remote. But to those who listen, to those who feel, the Himalayas pulse with a slow, eternal heartbeat. Every gust of wind, every falling snowflake, every echoing roar through the canyon speaks the same truth, that existence here is fragile yet infinite, fierce yet tender. As the sun dips behind the tallest peaks and the world fades to indigo, the last light lingers on the summits like a blessing. In that moment, when earth and sky dissolve into one another, the mountains seem to whisper their ancient secret. To endure is to be sacred. To live, even for a moment, in balance with this immensity, is to touch eternity. From a melt of distant snows to the sigh of the sea, India breathes through her rivers. They are not merely channels of water, but veins of memory, carrying the stories of mountains, forests, fields, and people to the heart of the land. Before dawn, the Ganges stirs beneath a veil of mist. Bells echo from unseen temples, their tones mingling with the soft splash of oars. The air smells of incense and wet clay. Along the Ghats, silhouettes move in reverence. Pilgrims bathing, birds feeding, priests offering fire to the flowing current. Each ripple seems to shimmer with purpose. The Ganga is not a river here. She is life itself, a moving hymn carved by time. As sunlight spills across the water, the world awakens. Fishermen push out their narrow wooden boats, their nets folding like wings. A pair of river dolphins break the surface nearby, their rounded backs catching the light for an instant before vanishing again. They breathe in silence, ghostly and rare, guardians of a realm half forgotten. Their movements ripple outward, disturbing floating marigolds left from morning prayers. On the opposite bank, a family of smooth-coated otters tumbles to the shallows, sleek, joyous, endlessly curious. They chase one another through waves of gold, then pause to sniff the air, whiskers quivering. The smell of fish, mud, and waterweed fills their world. Their laughter is a bubbling echo of the river's own song. Further east, where the Brahmaputra flows broad and untamed through Assam, the river widens into an ocean of glass. Here the power of water is absolute. Sandbars rise and vanish overnight. Islands drift like thoughts. Herds of wild buffalo graze the edges, their dark bodies gleaming with spray. Rhinos wallow in the mud, their armored hides plastered with silt, their ears twitching at the buzz of dragonflies. Overhead, a line of greater adjutant storks stand solemn as monks, their long beaks poised in reflection. The rhythm of life is slow, deliberate, ancient, but the river's mood changes with the seasons. When the monsoon returns, the Brahmaputra becomes a living tempest. Thunder rolls across the plains. The water swells until it devours its own banks. Villages rise on stilts, boats tie to trees instead of docks, and the horizon dissolves into an endless sheet of silver. For the animals, it is both peril and renewal. Crocodiles slide through the flood like relics of a vanished world. They rest beneath overhanging branches, eyes half closed, waiting for the current to bring them sustenance. Nearby, a mother otter ferries her pups from one floating island to another, their tiny heads bobbing like seeds carried by fate. Amid the chaos, lotus flowers bloom defiantly, their petals unsoiled by the muddy torrent. In the Sundarbans, where the Ganges meets the sea, the river transforms yet again, becoming not one stream but thousands, a labyrinth of tides and mangrove roots. Here, salt and fresh water merge in eternal negotiation. The air is thick with humidity and the calls of unseen birds. Mud skippers leap from pool to pool. Fiddler crabs wave their bright claws in ritual display. And moving silently through this drowned forest is the Bengal tiger, adapted to the brine and the shifting ground. Its stripes ripple like shadows through mangrove trunks, its paws leaving prints that the tide erases within hours. The tiger drinks from the same river that mothers have blessed, fishermen have cursed, and gods have sanctified. Every life here depends on water, and yet must constantly guard against its hunger. In quieter stretches, the river reveals its gentler soul. Children wade at the edges, their laughter echoing against stone embankments. Buffaloes wallow, eyes half closed, while egrets perch upon their backs. Kingfishers flash through the air like jewels, diving in perfect arcs. The water reflects everything: the blue of the sky, the green of the trees, the red of distant temples, blending them into a single moving canvas. As dusk descends, fireflies begin to shimmer above the reeds, mirroring the stars soon to appear above. Villagers light small lamps and set them afloat, each flame of prayer carried downstream toward the horizon. Night along the river is a symphony of whispers. Frogs croak in the shallows. Crickets sing from the banks. The current murmurs secrets against roots and stones. Somewhere, deep beneath the surface, the dolphins move again, navigating by sound, soft clicks and echoes that paint a world invisible to human eyes. Their language fills the dark water with life, reminding all who listen that the river is never truly silent. Far upstream, in the Himalayan foothills where the first threads of the Ganges are born, meltwater trickles from glaciers into rivulets, so clear they seem made of light. Small trout dart through the shallows, and prayer flags flap across wooden bridges. Here, the water is young, playful, pure, unaware of the burden it will soon carry. As it descends through forests and towns, gathering color and sediment, it becomes more than a river. It becomes a story shaped by every creature and every hand it touches. By the time it reaches the delta, the Ganges has lived 1,000 lives. It has been a whisper, a roar, a blessing, a grave. It has nourished millions and taken as many, sculpted fields, erased borders, and written songs that flow in every Indian heart. To stand at its edge at sunset is to feel the pulse of the nation itself. The river gleams crimson, gold, and violet before fading into darkness. One final glimmer of light lingers on the ripples, and then drifts away, joining the sea. For all its might, the river asks nothing. It gives, it takes, and it endures. And in its endless journey from mountain to ocean, it carries the essence of India: change without end, faith without measure, life without pause. The rivers remind us that movement is the soul of existence, and that even in constant flow, there is peace. When dawn touches the horizon of India, it doesn't awaken one land. It awakens many worlds. From the frost-glazed summits of the Himalayas to the glowing dunes of the Thar, from the dense jungles of the Western Ghats to the tidal veins of the Sundarbans, life stirs in 1,000 languages of motion and sound. The forests breathe mist, rivers hum with devotion. The desert exhales warmth into a sky of flame. It is in this first light that India reveals her truest face, a mosaic of landscape species and spirits bound together by one invisible thread: balance. Every corner of this vast subcontinent is a note in the great symphony of existence. In the north, the snow leopard moves like a ghost among peaks that touch the heavens, its eyes carrying the reflection of eternity. In the plains, elephants march with quiet wisdom, sculpting the forests as they pass. In the jungles of central India, tigers rule with measured grace, their power tempered by the rhythm of the land. To the west, camels wander through golden silence. To the east, river dolphins leap in shimmering arcs of light. Each creature, each breath, sustains the other. Here, life does not stand apart. It intertwines endlessly. The cycle of the seasons governs everything. When monsoon clouds roll across the sky, the earth rejoices. Parched fields awaken in a sudden blaze of green. Frogs sing their thunderous symphony. Peacocks dance as though calling the heavens to witness their joy. And when the rains retreat, leaving behind crystal pools and carpets of new grass, the cycle of hunger and renewal begins again. Deer give birth in the shade of banyan trees. Predators sharpen their senses for chase. And above it all, the great rivers carry whispers of this dance from one end of the nation to the other. Human hands, too, are woven into this pattern. In remote villages, people wake to the calls of bulbuls and the rustle of palms. Farmers bow to the earth before planting, honoring the soil that feeds both beast and man. Fishermen cast their nets with reverence, offering prayers to the river that gives and takes in equal measure. Shepherds in the deserts lead their flocks beneath a burning sun, singing to the rhythm of hooves. And in mountain monasteries, monks chant at dawn, their voices echoing through valleys where snow leopards prowl unseen. Across this land, faith is not an invention. It is a reflection of nature's own devotion. Yet, the balance trembles. The modern world presses close. Cities expand, forests shrink, and silence grows scarce. Machines echo in valleys that once knew only wind and birdsong. Rivers strain beneath the weight of humanity's thirst. Skies dim beneath the haze of ambition. And still, the wild persists. The tigress teaches her cubs to hunt among the ruins of forgotten temples. A leopard prowls through tea estates at night, unseen by the workers who harvest the morning leaves. Sea turtles return to beaches lined with lights and hotels, digging their nests in secret before vanishing into the surf. Nature endures not through defiance, but through quiet resilience. There are those who listen still. The rangers who walk under moonlight with rifles slung but hearts open. The scientists who track footprints that vanish into fog. The villagers who protect groves as sacred. The children who rescue fledglings from flooded nests. Through their eyes, the wild reclaims its dignity. For every tree felled, another is planted. For every creature lost, 100 hearts rise to defend what remains. The spirit of India's wilderness is not one of despair. It is one of return. In the deep of night, when the world sleeps, the wild stirs in ways unseen. Fireflies shimmer like constellations reborn. Owls glide through silent canopies. Rivers glow faintly under moonlight, reflecting the slow drift of clouds. Somewhere, a wolf howls to its scattered kin, its voice carrying across grasslands silvered by dew. The call is both ancient and immediate, a reminder that this land was wild long before it was named, and that beneath every road and field, the pulse of the jungle still beats. At sunrise, mist unfurls over the forest once more. The tiger steps into the light, his stripes burning gold. Birds erupt in a burst of color and sound. Parakeets, barbets, mynas, all singing the anthem of renewal. The wind moves through the trees, scattering seeds, carrying the scent of earth. Life surges forward, unstoppable. The forest, the desert, the mountain, and the river all breathe together as one great living organism. And at its center lies the heart of India, ancient and unbroken. To witness this balance is to understand something sacred. that life is not a ladder power but a circle of giving. The tiger depends on the deer on the grass on the rain on the mountain, and the mountain on the wind. Break one link, and the circle falters. Honor it, and the circle becomes eternal. As twilight descends on the subcontinent, the air glows once more with the soft, amber light of completion. Villages light their lamps. Jungles fill with a hum of night creatures. Rivers mirror the stars. The land sleeps, but not in silence. It dreams endlessly of itself. A dream of harmony, of rhythm, of coexistence. India's wild soul endures not in monuments or machines, but in the quiet gaze of an elephant, the ripple of a river, the rustle of wind through grass. It endures in every heartbeat that rises in tune with the land's own rhythm. And so long as even one creature walks freely beneath her skies, the story continues. A hymn written in fur and feather, in stone and storm, in the endless language of life. For here, where time and eternity meet, the wilderness is not a place. It is a promise,